Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my beautiful country. Today I prepared for you this simple but really beautiful summer dress, and if you want to see the second version of it, then keep watching until the end.
Okay guys, so I just want to quickly show you the pattern process, as this dress is again one of my creations. So the base of this pattern is the same like my organza dress if you watch this video. The only thing I change on the front piece is that I draw a line from the shoulder until the waistline, few centimeters away from the side seam, and these 2 points, this is for gathering. This type of sleeve is called bishop sleeve. I use a book, Pattern Making for Fashion Design, from Helen Joseph Armstrong, and this book helped me to create this pattern piece. As a base was a simple sleeve pattern, and you can see these 2 triangles, which is added volume to a normal sleeve pattern. The process was very easy to follow and the result is really beautiful, but you will see. The last thing that I changed on the sleeve is that I position the top of the shoulder a little bit higher to create more volume and again little bit of gathering. And the skirt couldn't be more easier. It's just 2 rectangles, they are sewn together on the side seams, and you can see these 2 notches with the blue line. This will be the openings on the side. So when I will sew the side seams, I will sew it from the top until the notches, and at the point where it's joined with the top, there will be a gathering. And before I cutted my fabric, I just did quick mock-up to see if everything is just the way I imagined. And it was, so I continue. And this dress from And Other Stories was my inspiration. So finally, this is a back bodice. These are 2 sleeves with all the notches that we need. These are the strips for bias binding, 2 rectangles for cuffs. I also added fusible interfacing on all the weak points just to prolong the lifetime of my dress. And so before assembling all the pieces together, I decided to do 2 rows of basting stitch and do a simple gathering where I planned it from beginning. So this is how it ended up looking like on the front pieces. Now I am ready to pin back bodice with 2 front pieces on the shoulder seams and on the side seams. This is the point where the front pieces will start to overlap, but for now I just don't touch it and don't do anything with it. So first I will sew these seams and overlock them with my overlock, or if you don't have overlock, you can simply use zigzag stitch or any other method that you prefer. So for this project I choose to use double gauze that I had in my stash for maybe a year, and I choose this kind of fabric because it's very breathable, it's very comfortable, and this is really what I want for everyday use. And anyone who have no experience with this fabric, my most important tip is to really first wash it, and so that fabric can shrink. You will avoid some fitting issues later on. Also use fusible interfacing on all the seams that might have a lot of pressure by wearing. Also avoid to pair double gauze with a tight fitting patterns, because really double gauze is meant to be used for loose fitting garments. So now the bodice looks more like a vest, so it's perfect time to finish the raw edges. So we need to, of course, attach the bias binding right sides together. So this is how it's going to look like, and I will sew a straight line from one end until the other, just like that. I'm just following the crease of bias binding. It's nothing complicated, guys, but I wouldn't say this is tutorial, so if you are interested on how to attach the bias binding, I will link it below. and because I want to turn my bias binding fully inside, it will be a good idea if I reduce the seam allowance at least in half, because otherwise it would be too bulky and it just wouldn't sit properly. So I will go ahead and cut this all off. So now I will turn it inside and pin it, and as you can see, there is no bias binding showing on the top. At this point you can go ahead and sew it on with the seam allowance less than a width of the bias binding, just to be sure that you are catching all the bias binding and it will be attached evenly. And don't worry, it's up to you, as you like. You want to do it from the top, you can do it from the top, or you can do it from the inside that you can see bias binding, and in this case it's going to be easier for you if you are beginner. And if you are asking yourself at this point if I am wearing sunglasses inside the house, the answer is yes. And it's not from fashionable point of view, but the room is so sunny afternoon that my eyes are watering and I have no other choice, but I am not complaining personally, so that's why I'm wearing sunglasses inside. So this is how it looks like when it's done. And now the next step will be to do a basting stitch from one end to the other, just at the point where front pieces are overlapping.
Okay, so just want to try it now and see if everything is okay. So far I didn't have any problem to pull it over my head, so this should be fine. The length is great, considering that there is still like 1.5 centimeter of seam allowance. But you have to think that when you will attach skirt on it, the weight of the fabric will pull it down. So the line that is here will naturally go lower. So that means I have to be careful, because I don't want my waist to end up much lower, because I think it would not be so flattering for me. I put a pin over here just to see how it looks like if I decided to put 1-2 stitches over here, but I want to see also. But even if I will not put stitches there, it seems like there is not going to be any gapping or anything. And because I ironed the interfacing here, this should not stretch out, so it should keep nice shape. So far I'm really happy with it. Now we should attach the sleeves and then finally the skirt.
So these are my 2 sleeves, and the next step will be to do 2 rows of basting stitch in order to gather it later on. Whenever I do a basting stitch for gathering, I always put my tension at the lowest, and I always choose the longest stitch. And I have to admit, at the beginning of my gathering career, I was always lazy to do 2 rows of a basting stitch. I don't know, I just thought I will save time. But later on I understood that just with one row of basting stitch gathering never looks so good and so even, so my advice is don't be lazy and just simply do 2 rows of a basting stitch. I'm not quite sure why, but I didn't show it here. I did also 2 rows of basting stitch at the bottom of the sleeve because there will be gathering as well. But here I'm simply closing the side seam of the sleeve and finishing the edges with my overlock as usually. Yep, so here you can see the 2 rows of a basting stitch at the bottom, and on the top of the sleeve there will be not so much gathering on the top. It's just a little bit, and just to create a little bit of puffy sleeve on the top of the shoulder. And here we went already through this step. We have been attaching sleeves here on this channel, nothing new here. First I attach side seams, then I match the center of the sleeve with the shoulder seam, and then simply I will continue pinning from the side seam up until the notch. And when I will get there, I will start to gather until the sleeve is matching the armhole. Very simple, very easy, and in my opinion, the least annoying method, at least for me. Well, just try it, guys. Maybe you will like it too. Then I will pin it, sew it with a straight stitch, and simply overlock the seam with my overlock. Ta-da! Nice and clean. And now let's continue to another step. So now we have sleeve attached, and now we need to finish the bottom of the sleeve. So first I need to gather it. In this case it was, I will simply say, as much as it was possible, as the cuff was way much smaller than the bottom of the sleeve. So I simply gathered as much as I could. And then, do you remember my cuffs? Just 2 simple rectangles. So I sewed them together to form a simple circle, and then I attached this circle to the sleeve, matching the side seams, and sew it with approximately 1 centimeter of a seam allowance. And yes, and my dog is coming here to interrupt my voiceover as usual. So this is how it looks like. Then I simply fold it in once and twice, making sure that there will be a few millimeters overlap with the first seam. Then I decided that the safest method to finish it without showing seams on the outside will be to do it by hand. The method of sewing stitch in ditch is known to me, but my left hands still didn't master it well enough. Then I finished the side seam over each piece by overlock and place them on the top of each other, right sides facing, and sewing from the waist down until the notch. It depends on you how big of a slit you want on your dress. Then I gathered the skirt to fit the bodice, place the top inside the skirt, right sides facing, sewing and overlocking the seams. At the end I decided that I don't really like the loose fit on me, and I added a bias binding to the waist from inside to form a tunnel for the elastic, which will cinch in the waist nicely. I think that there is really no need to explain this step. It's very simple and easy, but what I really want to say is that all the process from beginning until the end making this dress was so easy. It was very enjoyable project, very satisfying, and now I can also say by my experience of wearing this dress is just what I expected. It's so comfortable, it's very cute, it's very summery, and is exactly the type of the dress that you can wear every single day with the sneakers. You don't have to think about it too much. You can take your dog for a walk, you can go for an ice cream with your boyfriend, you can go to do your groceries, no matter what. And I really believe that each of us need such type of a dress. At least me, guys. Let me know what you think about it, but I think if you will try, you just have to agree with me. Yes, and at the end you will need to hem the bottom by folding the edges once and sew it all the way around the slits until you come to where you started. And here you go. This is my first version with the elastic at the waist. And after I finished this dress, I liked it so much. It was so nice, so comfortable, but I still felt so cute. And really, this is what I was missing in my wardrobe for summer. Dress that makes me feel good, cute, and comfortable. And then I decided to create a second version, which is this beautiful linen fabric that you could see in my fabric haul if you were watching the videos before. And yeah, so I created this version, and there is a slight difference. I didn't place the elastic in a waist, but I decided to do a simple straps and just tie it at the waist, and it creates a little bit a different effect. Also, the type of the fabric is making the sleeve to stand up a little bit more. So I highly suggest you to try, if you like some pattern that you made or you buy, try to make it in different fabrics. For me, it was a complete success, and I cannot be more happy with this make. Thank you guys again for watching, and see you soon with another dress.